Hi everybody, it's the 24th of May 2023, which means that yesterday was the day that DayZ Update 1.21 dropped for PC and console, PlayStation and Xbox. So what I thought we would do, a little bit behind the times, but I was working yesterday, I had lots of things to do last night, is go through the blog post and then we'll go through the patch notes and I'll kind of talk about thoughts and being quite excited for this update, hopefully because it's going to bring back a bit more stability to the game, but also what's very, very important is, and I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit here, but the idea that we're going to have access to spawn P3D files on console, well, on PC as well. But what that means is that using our existing techniques of spawning in items using custom JSONs, we're going to be able to spawn in trees, rocks, foliage, grass, that sort of thing, which might not sound very exciting, but leads to incredible possibilities. Okay, so let's dive into the DayZ Update 1.21 blog post by Adam Franku. Came out yesterday. Adam is the lead creative lead, I think. Greetings, survivors. DayZ Update 1.21 has just been released on all platforms. We've got something unique for you this time around because we're travelling back to medieval times. What does that mean exactly? Let's dive in and find out. We're introducing the Crossbow in this update, which happens to be DayZ's first ever spring-powered weapon. The Crossbow is a ranged weapon that can shoot deadly bolts and fit a variety of sights and scopes. The bolts are recoverable, though they will suffer a loss in durability every time they hit their target. In case you can't find your bolt after you've shot it, you can always create improvised ones to replenish your supply. While the Crossbow may not be strictly medieval, we've scattered an assortment of replicated items and clothing throughout the world that are medieval in theme. We don't want to spoil the fun by going into the specifics, but let's just say there's enough variety to equip a survivor knight who's ready to lay siege on a castle base. So, the Crossbow, which comes in numerous different camouflage patterns, skins I guess you say, spawns at historical and hunting locations. I think on Livonia it's just hunting locations. We've got this new historical tag for Cherna, which is basically the castles and the castle ruins, and you can use the dedicated bolt, which is like a special bolt, or, and this is what's very special about it, you can pick up a stick, make a short stick, and you can craft it with a knife or a sharp cutting implement into an improvised bolt. So in effect you have infinite ammo for it, and you can also now, when you kill chickens, you get feathers, so you can add feathers to those bolts should you wish, and that will give it a little bit more accuracy and range, I think, so do a bit more damage. Really designed as a stealth weapon against zombies and smaller animals, and I guess stealth as well against players, but it doesn't do that damage at range, especially if players have got armor on. I think it's going to be the ultimate survivor weapon for PvE. I've used it on the experimental servers and I think it's fantastic. Love it, especially the fact that you can craft your own ammunition. A little bit glitchy at the moment. Sometimes when you fire the bolt into certain things, you won't be able to recover them, but you know, this is early days. This is the first time they've had a weapon like this where you can recover the ammunition, you know, where it sticks into a wall or a zombie and then you can pull it out. But yeah, fantastic. And then what they're also alluding to there is the medieval armor. So it's chainmail armor. There's chainmail trousers, chainmail vest, chainmail hat, a couple of different helms. So we've got the Nordic helm on Livonia, we've got the Great Helm on Chernerus, we've got the Great Sword, or the Sword, we've got the Mace, we've got there's a piece of plate armour, chest plate armour that you can put on, that you can use to run around. Now that stuff's very rare, and I know some people are saying, oh, it breaks immersion a bit. What I wish they'd done is made it a bit rustier, and maybe had it actually not in historical locations, but maybe in things like if there was like a museum tag or something like that, you know, so it would actually be in one of the cities where you would go into a museum and you would find this sort of stuff rather than laying around castle ruins, or maybe in the gift shops at the castles, you know, where you would find that stuff, or maybe only in like the little sheds, because you could imagine role players, you know, LARPers, wearing that sort of stuff, couldn't you? But anyway, it is actually worth using as well, because it's the first time, according to Wobo, that we have armour for the body and the trousers that isn't a plate carrier or a press vest, that sort of thing. So you can actually, if you're wearing the chainmail trousers, that will give you protection on the legs, which we haven't had before. And similarly with the chainmail vest, but it is heavy, so watch out for that. And it all gives you very good protection against melee attack as well. So again, you can imagine, if you were in the zombie apocalypse, and for example you visited a butcher's, right? They have special gloves they put on, don't they, to stop themselves cutting themselves. So you would wear those, wouldn't you? Because it would mean that zombies couldn't cut you. So yeah, I'm not completely unhappy with that coming into the game. They're very rare. I just think that maybe they should have been rusty. That's what I would have looked for. In other update news, fans and winners of the last year's Lights Out event were happy to learn the winning flags have made it into the game and now can be found in Livonia. We've also implemented a server login delay which occurs when switching between multiple accounts on consoles. We hope this measure will result in a healthier environment overall, as it will now be much more time consuming to utilise multiple accounts on one server during a gameplay scenario. Okay, so let me just take a drink of my coffee because this is going to be a long video. Now this is just for console, and one of the issues with console is that on Xbox and PlayStation you can have as many accounts as you want on the same console, with only having one copy of DayZ. So you can have a base, and in that base you could have your normal character, and you could have another character who you then load up with gear, so like a soldier, and you can log them off. So they're just in limbo. You could have another one that had loads of food on and log that off, so that's like offline storage, and another one, and another one. And it means that if you were trying to attack or raid someone's base, one player could have 20 different accounts for their characters that are all in the same place. So they would almost have like an infinite supply of resupply of reinforcements to keep beating you. Also, I understand this was a method that was used for duping, something to do with this. So what they've done is, now when you log on with another account, there's going to be a delay, quite a long delay, and then if you try it again, there's going to be an even longer delay and an even longer delay. Now, one of the things that's alluded to in the patch notes, which we're going to read in a minute, which I haven't discovered yet, is the ability to turn this on and off, because I understand that certain people, especially when they're testing things on their servers, will have multiple accounts and have characters in different places. So imagine you're like an admin on a server. The problem we have on console is that you can't teleport from one place to the other like you can on PC. So instead of doing that, you have, say, 10 characters that you build up on a server, and you just have them on different areas of the map. So if you need to go and sort out a situation or investigate something in a specific area, you just log in as that character. And you can go and do that. So what we really want is the ability to turn this on and off on community servers. I think that will be coming. I think they just haven't added it to the server dz.config, or with console we have the Nitrado sort of general settings, but I think that will be coming, so don't worry too much about that. If you'd like to learn more about the update, you can find a list of all the changes on our official forums, and there's a nice little video. We hope you enjoyed this latest update and wish you many great adventures on behalf of the DayZ team. Adam, brilliant. And there's a nice video. Again, I'll put the links to all of this in the description below the video. I'll put a link, as long as I remember, to Wobo's video as well. He's got like the secret stuff that's included with this update as well. Okay, so now we're into the weeds now with the patch notes. So here we go. So console update 1.21 notes. In case of problems, please check the Bohemia Interactive Support FAQ, and you can help us to further improve the game by posting your feedback in the feedback tracker. Incredibly important this. I'll put a link to this in the description below the video. If you have a problem, go to the feedback tracker and just report it. Create a new ticket and say, look, when I was doing this, this happened. Because DayZ, they're not a AAA developer, and Bohemia Interactive aren't a AAA developer. The DayZ team especially don't have unlimited resources, and if we can help them with things and say, look, actually I was in this situation, I was doing this, and this bug happened, that will help me, will help them, because remember, if it happens to you, it will probably happen to someone else. Okay, added crossbow and colour variants, bolts and improvised bolts variants, the sword, the mace, the chainmail leggings, the chainmail coif, that's the hat, the Norse helm, the chest plate, the medieval boots, wool gloves, with fingerless and colour variants, feathers, game hints in the loading screen at last. New game hints, thrown items and mover vehicles now move smoother on high refresh rate devices. So the idea of this is that with things like the vehicles is that particular thing will have a higher refresh rate, so it's less likely to fall through the map or do strange things. I mean, we'll have to see. Status icon for mild leg injury. So what happens now is when you're wandering around and you jump off something, but you don't break your leg, but you hurt your leg. There's a little icon in the bottom right corner. Or when you're fighting like zombies, they can hurt your legs. I'm not sure about that one. I did report it as a bug. Cause look, when you're fighting a zombie, they're hitting your upper body. Why would your leg get hurt? But anyway, UI brightness can be adjusted in the settings. The character now spawns with items pre-assigned to their quick bar. That is obviously for sound indicator when dying of thirst, like licking lips, I think it is. Support for the player's Met functionality on PlayStation. Right, there's a load of fixes. I won't go through the fixes because there's lots. You can read those yourself. But we will go to changed. The login time will be prolonged upon immediate account or device switch with escalating time on repeated attempts. That's what we kind of talked about. Assigned a scope zoom to right on the D-pad on the new control scheme if you use it. Reworked falling damage impact depending on height. So that's what's kind of also. Again, watch Wobo's video, but I think you're less likely to break your legs when you fall off stuff. But what does happen is it's cumulative, and you can kind of see that. Tweak sounds of doors with valve lock. Change the horn sound of the M3S truck. Increase the audibility of explosions. Allowed eye gear to spawn on infected. Now, that's important because of, I think, I might get this wrong, is head torches. I think. Is it to do with head torches? The fact that you can now put head torches on zombies again. Login timers are now also displaying in minutes and hours. Zoom functionality is no longer reduced during fast movement in crouch or prone. Applied minor visual tweaks to the Great Helm. Reduced the weight of the plastic exposures by 60%. Tweaked impact sounds for metallic objects depending on the targeted surface. Ripened horticultural plants now stay for twice as long before they start to decay. Yeah, so food, once it's grown, I think it's going to hang around for 2 hours now before it starts to die. Increase the minimum amount of quick slots available to the player. Reduce the amount of additional quick slots given by certain gear. So, when you're going to have, you have something like the combat jacket and you have an assault vest, and you have the military trousers, you're going to have less quick slots. Interactions with the power generator now refresh the lifetime of it and all items connected. Remove the loading text on the login timer. Washing hands is now a continuous action. Tweak the width of all tyre tracks, change the animation for pill consumption, improve the visuals of the PSO1, PSO11 and P187L scopes, though they're much better and easier to look through now. Reduce the reflection on the glass of scopes related to that. Improvised fishing rod can now be dismantled so you can get your rope back. Adjusted position rotation of individual weapons when carried on the shoulder, because they were looking a bit odd, weren't they, some of them. Distant lights are now much dimmer. Transition from close-up light to distance is much smoother. Slightly increase the damage the Sarka 120 takes from impacts. The drying rate of items has been adjusted to correctly reflect the item location and outside influences. So from what I understand from Wobo's video is that things will take longer to dry when you put them on the floor next to a fire. The drying rate of items has been so increase the duration of the ringing action. So if something's wet, it's going to take longer for you to wring it out. Adjusted inventory lighting to make the item previews more readable, lest overexpose more in the style of a UI. Flatter lighting. Right, okay. Reduce the chances of pristine weapons getting jammed when chambering a bullet. It was possible to see under the map while driving with vehicles in third person. Reduce the view obstruction of the Great Helm. Adjusted the sizes of several dialogue boxes to better fit their text. Items will now be placed to the side of vehicles when dropped. Let me have a drink. Central economy fixed. Removed head torches. Definitions from CFG spawnable types and CFG random presets. Fixed Humvee wheels were not marked as vehicle parts. Fixed chicken feather was missing. Tweaked adjust spawning of gloves. Tweaked adjust medieval loot spawns. Tweaked, one of my favourite words, that. Reduced the amount of 76254 and 9x39. Churnerist. The Churnerist economy files had the Livonia ones. Updated the Chernigorsk football field. Livonia added flags of the winner's Lights Out event, shifted the police station at Bielawa. Server added server config parameter, disable multi-account mitigation, default equals false. So this is that login timer delay that we talked about. However, it's not there yet. If you go to your Nitrado, this is what would be our server dz.config. It's not there. This is I think this is where it will appear. Now this has been updated because they have changed something. What they've changed is, I thought they changed reset mission maximal to the buff default. Maybe they didn't. Okay, no worries. Xbox whitelist now supports hashed IDs. Object spawner supports direct 3BP3D spawning, and they don't, as Don said in his video, they say there's the documentation, but that's it. There isn't much. So what we could do before is you could call on structures, couldn't you? So you could call in buildings and things like that. But now you can call in things like rocks and trees and grass and ivy. I will be doing other videos for that. Top man to look at this is Don Sibley. So if you do a Google search for Don Sibley DayZ YouTube, he's doing videos. He's already produced the DayZ Overgrown mod, which I'll be doing a video about, which is fantastic. And what it will enable us to do is it'll enable us to make the map look a little bit more older. You know, a lot of DayZ looks a little bit new, doesn't it? It's like the apocalypse was just, last week kind of thing, where what we'll be able to do is add things like ivy to the side of buildings, grass over roads, more bushes, more trees. So it's like, actually, this is a few years after the apocalypse. Added server config in parameter network object batch send, which is how many objects within the player network bubble are sent to be created within the server frame, whatever that means. Added server config network object batch compute. Optional logging for raising or lowering of flag. So I guess you'll be able to see whether people are doing that or not. Added object spawner CE, enable CEP or enable CE persistency, which when set to true will make an object behave as configured by economy, otherwise it will not be saved in the server storage until the player puts inventory. Now this is very important, because this is the thing that stops duplication. So remember with the last update 1.20 we had this horrendous problem where if you're using custom JSON spawners, it was duplicating. So what they're saying here is we're going to do this setting so that, say you were to spawn in an M16 with the object spawner instead of using the types or events or something. So the object spawner spawns it in. When the server turns off, that M16 disappears. Unless someone picks it up and then it treats it as though it was spawned in as part of a types.xml or part of an events.xml, or it doesn't. So or you can have it so that on a server restart you would have your object spawner JSON, which would spawn in a lot of stuff, and all that stuff would be treated as if types.xml or if an event had spawned it in. What you would then have to make sure you did though is if you did do that, that you would then, after that server start, you would then disable that object spawner JSON, so all the stuff didn't spawn in. So it gives us the choice about whether we should have duplication or not. Now there could be times when you want duplication. Say you had a deathmatch server and you were restarting it every hour or something, and you just wanted lots and lots and lots of loot. But generally you don't want that. Now I haven't been able to find this. The object spawner is in your CFG gameplay.json. That's where the reference to the object spawner is. But as far as I can tell, in the CFG gameplay.json, let's bring a new one up. Where are we? Let's go in here. MP missions. Oh, don't want to go in there, do we? MP missions, generous, CFG gameplay.json. I can't see anything yet about that, so we're going to have to see. It might have been missed off. It might be something they're going to add in. Fixed script execution not functioning properly. Fixed several inconsistencies in admin logs. Fixed it was not possible to spawn infected with functional head torches. So yeah, here we go. So one of the coolest things in DayZ at night is a zombie with a head torch. When you just see this light wandering around, because especially with the running zombies, they look very much like real players. So very, very cool. Fixed items spawn before the central economy initialization were not persistent. Changed. Shortcut for map toggling was not available if you 3D map option is enabled. Shortcut for map toggling. Let's have a quick look at that. Okay, yeah. See, they still haven't added on, which is a bit of a pain, a shortcut for the map on console, which is what we want. Because as you probably know, we can set up our community servers so that you don't need to have the tourist map or the GPS or the compass in order to have a map appear. On PC, if you set your community server like that, all you've got to do is press M and it pops up. But we don't have a shortcut. What you have to have in console servers is you actually have to have the tourist map, and then when you bring the map up, you can do it so that even if you don't have the GPS or the compass, you can do it so like a red dot appears on the map where you are. So I have asked them to do that. We will see. They say that there's not enough space on the controller, but I think there is. So we've still got some known issues. Player can fall through some structures. Spawn through the object spawner. Fixes already in testing, and temporary solutions to change the scale to be slightly less or more than 1. Okay, one of my Patreons did contact me about this actually and said you could go through walls. Player position on the server can be desynced while in combat with infected. Players can fall through terrain or object when going prone. Other players can hear characters groan when landing from a small height. Ugh. Arrow disappears right after removing from crossbow. A bolt is missing from crossbow after reconnecting. Bolt stuck in an eye can be picked up into your inventory but not taken into the hands. Bolt stuck in items sometimes disappear when taken into inventory. String is not stretched when the crossbow is on shoulder or in the inventory. Minutes and seconds values are swapped when logging out with French setup. Cancelling the pulling back of the crossbow string will show it as loaded. Plants rock spawn by the object spawner are deleted after interaction. Okay. Loot spawn by the object spawner does not despawn if moved. Okay, there we go. So we've still got some things to work on, but very, very good. Can't wait to see what we can come up with in terms of custom environments. I will always say this. Sometimes when we get these updates, things don't always go right. But the devs normally sort them out with a couple of hot fixes. And just sit back and just imagine what it would be like if DayZ didn't get any updates at all. Would that be better if they just left the game as it was in like DayZ 1.4 or even DayZ 1.0 when it came out? Because I know sometimes people say, oh, do we really need this stuff? Do we need this little things added? But again, just think what the alternative to that would be. We might not always agree with what gets added to the game, but it means the team is working on the game, they're developing on the game, and remember what's down the road in the future. You know, in 2 years' time, when Armour 4 comes out on the new Enfusion engine, and you can check it out if you've got an Xbox or PC with Armour Reforger right now, all those resources that Bohemia Active is currently working on Reforger and Armour 4, they're going to go, well, that was good. We've charged people, we've charged 1 million people 60 quid for Armour 4. Isn't it time that DayZ got updated? And that's when the real changes are going to be there. Okay, anyway, that's enough for me. What do you think? Put your questions and comments down below. If you like the video, hit like. If you want to see what I'm saying, press subscribe. I'll get this outro right one day, won't I? And of course, I'll see you again soon.